You didn't wake up to be condemned, you woke up to be healed. What if the years you mourned as wasted were actually the hidden chapters of your becoming? What if the silence, the sleepless nights, the aching regrets weren't detours, but soil? What if the tears you cried in silence were never ignored, but recorded in the chambers of heaven? God's message to your heart today is this: nothing you've lived is wasted, not the failures, not the relationships that ended in pain, not even the years that seemed lost in confusion. You've looked in the mirror and seen delay, failure, and missed opportunity. You've replayed conversations you wish had gone differently. But under the gentle covering of Psalm 91, a deeper truth breaks through the shame. Your story is not over, and your pain has never been outside of God's reach. Psalm 56:8 says, "He collects every tear." That means heaven has been listening the whole time, even when no one else was. This is not a mourning for performance. It's a moment of surrender. You don't need to prove your worth. You just need to bring your wounds. Romans 8:28 doesn't promise that everything will feel good, but that everything will work together for good for those who love Him. Yes, even that mistake, even that chapter you've tried to erase, even the seasons you slept through while others soared. Healing begins when you stop rehearsing regret and start releasing it. You see delay, God sees development. You feel too late. He says, right on time. Psalm 23 whispers that goodness and mercy are still following you, not because you earned them, but because God is still writing. He does not consult your past to determine your destiny. In fact, He often begins where you believed it all fell apart. This is not a rejection of your past, it's a resurrection of it. There is a sacred beauty in regret when it's handed to God, because regret in His hands becomes redemption. Pope Leo the Catholicos once reminded us that God writes even on the pages we've crumpled, stained, or tried to burn. He doesn't discard your story, He redeems it. Your pain becomes compassion. Your delay becomes discernment. Your sleepless nights draw you to the one who never sleeps. Every moment, even the ones stained by shame, are now being touched by divine mercy. You do not need to perform to be healed. You do not need to prove yourself to be restored. This morning prayer is not about impressing heaven, it's about receiving what has always been available: grace. Let the tears fall if they need to. Let the memories rise if they must. But let them pass through the filter of redemption, not regret. You are covered, you are safe, and you are still deeply loved. So this morning, don't try to fix what's already past. Place it in His hands. Whisper your failures. Let the healing begin, not with forgetting, but with God repurposing everything that tried to break you. Ask yourself gently, what regret am I still rehearsing that God is ready to redeem? Have I confused delay with denial in God's plan for me? Am I willing to believe that nothing I've lived is wasted? Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. All things work together for good to them that love God. If this prayer stirred something deep in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded that nothing they've lived is wasted. And come back tomorrow. We'll keep walking through this healing together. There is a quiet ache known only to those who feel the weight of wasted years. It doesn't scream. It whispers in the stillness after midnight prayers, in the ache behind a smile, in the soft sigh you release when no one's watching. You may not say it aloud, but you've felt it. I should be further. I wasted too much. I can't get those years back. This isn't just sorrow. It's spiritual exhaustion. But God's message to your heart today is deeper than regret. You can't change the past, but He can heal it. You don't need to outrun time. You need to surrender it. And when you place your years in the hands of the Eternal One, what once seemed lost becomes fertile ground for healing. Psalm 56:8 says, He keeps track of every tear. That means your sorrow has never gone unnoticed, and your silence has never been unseen. And your sorrow has never been Heaven is not reviewing your resume, it's rewriting your timeline. This is not just a morning prayer. It is a divine rescue, a holy disruption to the pattern of self-condemnation. You may feel undeserving, but grace isn't based on merit, it's based on mercy. Romans 8:28 breathes into this moment. All things, not some, not the good ones, all. That includes your lowest seasons, the years you spent walking in circles, the times you mistook noise for purpose. God is not waiting for you to explain, He's waiting for you to let Him restore. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us that emotions are data, not directives. Your pain is valid, but it's not your identity. The sadness you carry isn't a curse, it's a signal, a longing for redemption. And that longing is holy when brought to the healer. Your story isn't done, no matter how unfinished you feel. You are not late, you are being realigned. Let God touch what you've tried to bury. Let Him breathe peace into the places you've marked too late. Pope Leo I once wrote that the pages we tried to tear out are the ones God chooses to highlight with mercy. That delay you resented, it prepared you to appreciate what others take for granted. That sleeplessness, it brought you closer to the one who never slumbers. Your haunting thoughts don't scare God, they move Him with compassion. So breathe deeply, let the accusations fall like brittle leaves in autumn. Let stillness settle where striving used to live. Psalm 23 doesn't say, He might restore your soul if you get it right. It says, He restoreth my soul. That promise is yours. That mercy is for now. God is not trying to hurry you, He's healing you. Let His whisper be louder than your what-ifs. Even this I can use. The miracle isn't just that God forgives, it's that He reclaims what seemed unrecoverable. Joel 2:25 isn't poetic, it's prophetic. I will restore to you the years, even the ones devoured by distractions, discouragement, or disobedience. Your locusts might have worn different masks, procrastination, shame, avoidance. But God doesn't just replace lost time, He redeems it. He multiplies what remains. He brings new fruit out of fallow ground. You are not too late for the promise. You are not too old for purpose. This morning is proof. Let the healing begin here. Don't let regret write the next chapter. Share this prayer with someone who needs to know they're not too far gone. God's message today is healing. And it's just beginning. What lie have I believed about being too late or too broken for God's purpose? In what areas do I still feel haunted by missed time? How might God be inviting me to surrender my timeline into His healing hands? He restoreth my soul, He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness. Psalm 23:3, Put thou tellest my wanderings, put thou my tears into thy bottle. Psalm 56:8, I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten. Joel 2:25. You woke up today carrying a weight that doesn't always have words. It lingers in your breath, tightens in your chest, and echoes between memories. It's the quiet ache that says your story should have turned out differently, that the best parts are behind you and what remains is just consequence of mistakes, delays, and missed chances. But God's message today breaks through that heaviness like morning light through drawn curtains. Your story is not over yet. The author has not signed the final page. The one who began a good work in you has not abandoned his pen. He's still writing. And the next chapter is filled with redemption. This is not empty hope, it's sacred truth. Psalm 91 reminds us that those who dwell in the secret place of the Most High still abide under His shadow. That means your position in Him hasn't shifted even when your perspective has. You are still covered, still chosen, still loved. Romans 8:28 is not built on your perfection, it's built on His. All things, yes, even the ones you'd rather forget, are working together for good. That includes every delay, every detour, and every dark chapter that made you believe the story was done. But God says, don't close the book just because the chapter is hard. He's still moving, still healing, still redeeming. Barrett wants to tell you the next page can only be survival, that it's too late for beauty, too late for breakthrough. But that's a lie. This morning prayer is a divine interruption to that narrative. You are not too far gone. You are not behind. Psalm 23 says, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me." That word surely isn't passive, it's a promise. Goodness is pursuing you, mercy is catching up. E.D. Jakes once said that we often miss the breakthrough because we're looking back while trying to move forward. But freedom begins when you stop rehearsing failure and start receiving grace. So take a deep breath. Let today be the day you stop trying to rewrite the past and let God turn the page. Lisa Bevere teaches that what the enemy used to shame you, God will use to shape you. And that's already happening, even if you can't see it yet. You may not know the ending, but you know the author. The ink of grace is still wet. Your story is still unfolding. What you've walked through wasn't wasted. What's ahead is not random. It's redeemed. This is not the end. This is the next beginning. What story have I been telling myself about failure or delay that God wants to rewrite? Am I willing to release my ending and let God continue the narrative? Where have I confused pause with permanent? He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide, shall abide. All things work together for good. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. If your heart needed this reminder today, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear God is not finished with you yet. Because He's not. He's still moving, He's still healing, and you're still becoming. There are years that feel like shadows stretching long across your heart. Years you stare back at and label wasted, lost, or irretrievable. They echo in sleepless nights, whispering what-ifs and if-onlys, haunting you with a sense that time has slipped too far out of reach. But Psalm 91 breaks through the fog of regret with divine reassurance. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. This is not a promise for the perfect, it's for the weary. It's for you, the one who carries the ache of time that feels gone forever. The secret place is not about hiding from your past. It's about letting God shelter you while He begins restoring what felt beyond recovery. When you dwell in that sacred space, healing begins. You don't have to defend your detours. You don't have to relive every misstep. Romans 8:28 reminds us that all things, even those broken years, are working together for good. That includes the detours, the delays, and the decisions you wish you could undo. God has not forgotten them. He has not wasted them. He has been weaving them into something deeper. Strength you didn't know you were gaining. Wisdom that came through the wilderness. Resilience forged in the silence. You may have seen wasted time, but heaven saw preparation. This is more than a morning prayer. It's a holy invitation to surrender what you can't fix and receive what you can't earn. Restoration. Lisa Bevere teaches that healing isn't always something that looks dramatic. It's what happens when peace replaces turmoil. And in the quiet, when regret wants to shout, grace whispers louder. Pope Leo Kotikwere once said that God writes on every page, even the ones we've tried to tear out, and maybe those are the very pages He highlights with mercy. You are not disqualified. You are being refined. You are still part of the story God is telling, and He doesn't waste words. So rest here beneath His wings. Let the accusations fall away. Let the striving end. You don't need to carry this alone anymore. The one who sees you also shelters you. Psalm 23 promises, He restoreth my soul. That restoration is happening now, not when you're perfect, but when you're present. The years that wore you down are being redeemed, one breath, one surrender at a time. What you thought was a pause may actually be God positioning you. What felt like loss is being rewritten as love. The secret place is not a retreat. It's a reset. What years or memories have I labeled wasted that God might be inviting me to redeem? How can I begin to dwell in God's secret place despite my regrets? What does it mean to trust that God's love covers my past completely? He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. Psalm 91:4. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God. Scripture, remember thy name, he restoreth my soul. Psalm 23 verse 3. If this prayer helped you breathe again, share it with someone else who needs that same breath of mercy. You are not alone, and the healing is already unfolding. When night falls and the world quiets, the memories you thought were buried rise like shadows that refuse to rest. Sleeplessness grips your soul, not from the noise around you but from the ache within. Regret replays its lines. The what-ifs and if-onlys echo like a sad refrain. But even in this darkness, God whispers something true. He is still writing your story. The pain you carry tonight is not the final word. There is a divine pen in motion, one that weaves mercy through your sorrow and purpose through your brokenness. You are not forgotten in your night. You are being formed in it. Psalm 91 is not only a promise, it's a place. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Even when you feel abandoned by sleep or consumed by thought, God surrounds you. His shadow is a shield. His presence is a shelter. Romans 8:28. Hold steady even now. All things work together for good. That includes restless nights, private pain, unanswered questions. Healing doesn't demand that you ignore your wounds. It invites you to bring them into God's presence, where He reshapes them into something holy. Tonight, lift a quiet prayer for those who suffer silently, those in war zones, in hospital beds, in homes full of tension, in minds filled with fear. Lord, wrap them in your mercy, comfort the broken, bind up the wounds of those too tired to cry. You are the God who sees in secret and heals in silence. Be near to every soul in the dark. Amen. Dr. Anita Phillips says, grief is often a signal, not a sentence, a sign that your soul is reaching for restoration. Sleeplessness is not failure. It's often the sacred space where healing begins. Pope Leo XIV reminds us that even the pages we want to rip out are part of God's manuscript. He uses what we'd rather forget to show us His unfailing grace. Your tears are not wasted. They are ink in the hand of the author who never stops redeeming. So breathe. Let the tightness ease. Let the shame fall. You are not disqualified because you're up late with a restless heart. You are seen. You are safe under His wings. Psalm 23 says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. That promise is yours tonight. You are not walking through this alone. The story is still unfolding. The story is still unfolding. God's timing is not delayed. His healing is not far off. His presence is already here. What the night brings, He can use. What you thought disqualified you is what He's redeeming. How does sleeplessness reveal places in my heart that need God's healing? Can I bring my pain and regret into God's presence instead of hiding it? What hope does Psalm 91 give me in the darkest hours? He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. All things work together for good. Romans 8:28. If tonight's prayer brought even a breath of peace, share it with someone else still awake in the dark. We are never alone under God's sheltering wings. Guilt is a heavy chain, unseen yet unyielding, that binds the heart tighter than any prison. It whispers through silence, digs through memory, and names you by your worst moments. It convinces you that healing is for others, that freedom is out of reach. But God's message breaks through the walls of that invisible cell. You are not condemned. You are called to come out. This morning prayer is not a demand for perfection. It's an invitation to surrender what was never yours to carry. Guilt is not your name. Mercy is. Psalm 23 tells us that the Good Shepherd leads us beside still waters and restores our soul, not just when we feel worthy, but especially when we don't. Even when shame and guilt feel louder than peace, his rod and staff guide you back to safety. Romans 8:28 assures us that all things, even the ones we regret, are working together in God's redemptive hands. This healing meditation invites you to stop rehearsing the past and start releasing it. You don't have to justify what happened. You only have to trust that no chapter is beyond God's grace to rewrite. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches that guilt is not meant to imprison you, but to alert you, like a light on the dashboard. It points to a place in need of love and repair. And the first step is not to try harder, but to stand still in the presence of a Father whose mercy doesn't run out. Pope Leo the Captor once said that the very pages we want to rip from our stories are the ones God uses to minister to others. Brother, God uses to minister to others. Your guilt, transformed by grace, becomes your testimony, not your sentence. You are not disqualified by what you did. You are qualified by what Jesus already did for you. This morning, if you woke up haunted by what you can't undo, know this: God never asked you to carry guilt alone. Psalm 91 reminds us, "He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. His care surrounds you even when your thoughts betray you." This is your rescue moment, not from pain alone, but from believing pain is all you deserve. God's healing is not reserved for the blameless. It is a gift for the brokenhearted. Let today be the day you stop punishing yourself. Let the chains fall without explanation. Let his love be louder than your shame. Your past is not a prison. It is a place where grace plants seeds that will grow into freedom. And this freedom isn't someday. It begins now. What guilt am I still holding that I need to release to God? How can I truly receive God's forgiveness instead of trying to earn it? Where can I allow Psalm 23's promise of restoration to meet my brokenness? He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23:3. He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Psalm 91:11. All things work together for good. Romans 8:28. If this healing began something in you today, share it with someone who's still locked in their own guilt. Let grace be the key that opens both your cages. No matter how far you feel from where you hoped to be, or how heavy regret weighs on your heart, Psalm 23 offers a steadfast promise. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow you all the days of your life. This is not distant hope, but present reality. Even when past mistakes and lost time try to convince you otherwise, God's message today is clear. His mercy is relentless, pursuing you with unwavering love. You are not abandoned, not forgotten, and certainly not beyond restoration. The healing you need is rooted in this truth. Mercy is not just trailing behind you, it is pursuing you right now. You are still covered by a God who writes beauty from brokenness and turns shame into song. You are still becoming who he's called you to be. Psalm 91 reminds us that even in life's darkest valleys, the shadow of the Almighty shelters us. No regret, failure, or sleepless night can separate you from this divine protection. Romans 8:28 assures us that all things, your wrong turns, delays, doubts, and detours, are being woven into a greater good, orchestrated by God's hands. This morning meditation invites you to stop measuring yourself by what went wrong and start embracing the truth. Your past does not cancel your future. Every step, even the missteps, leads to a destiny shaped by God's redeeming grace. You are still walking into goodness, even if it feels like mercy is moving slowly. It is moving, right behind you. Always. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches that healing grows in the soil of mercy. Transformation begins the moment we stop running from our failures and start resting in God's mercy. Pope Leo Cantorus reminds us that God writes on every page, even the torn and stained ones. Your regrets do not disqualify you, they prepare you. Every chapter you wish you could erase, God uses to build testimony, compassion, and depth. Your story, with all its imperfect lines, is still being shaped by a loving author who never puts down the pen. Let this truth be your anchor. Your past is not a chain, it's the soil where mercy is blooming. This prayer is for the one who feels haunted by what's behind but is being called to walk forward in mercy's embrace. As you meditate on Psalm 23, see goodness and mercy not as distant ideals but as faithful companions following your every step. Let this truth calm your anxious thoughts, quiet the accusations in your mind, and awaken fresh hope in your soul. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. You are not beyond grace. God's mercy is not just for others, it is yours. It is following you. Always. How can I experience God's mercy more fully in my daily life? What fears or regrets keep me from receiving that mercy? How does knowing I'm followed by mercy change the way I see my story? Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6, He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. All things work together for good, the truth of the creativity paradox. Wait, you're theirs. If this prayer anchored you today, share it with someone who needs to know that mercy is still following them too. Let's walk forward together, into healing. It's easy to believe the mistakes you've made are the sum total of who you are, that your failures cast permanent shadows over your identity and future. But today, God's message breaks through that false narrative. You are not defined by your mistakes. They are chapters, not your title. Healing begins when you stop agreeing with shame and start agreeing with grace. Psalm 91 offers a powerful image. Under His wings you find refuge, not because you are flawless, but because His love covers imperfection. You were never meant to carry condemnation. You were created to carry His mercy. This morning meditation is a call to let God rewrite the narrative of your life. Romans 8:28 says all things, yes, even the ones that still make you wince, work together for good. Psalm 23 promises a restoration that reaches deep. Your missteps don't cancel your purpose. They amplify the miracle of redemption. God is not shocked by your failures. He is ready to use them. You are not walking in circles. You're being redirected. You are not disqualified. You're being refined. This isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your testimony. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches that self-judgment chokes healing. Only when we allow God's love to name us instead of our failures can true freedom begin. Pope Leo Cactoris reminds us that God writes even on the pages we try to tear out, using stained lines and smudged ink to tell a story that still matters. This is the gospel in motion: grace meeting regret, love redefining shame. The mistakes you made are not your identity. They are invitations to mercy, to humility, to transformation. God's voice today doesn't accuse, it restores. You are more than your worst moments. You are His. If your heart is heavy with regret, this healing prayer is for you. Let the mercy of Psalm 91 surround you. Let the promise of Psalm 23 lift your head. You are not walking forward alone. You are being guided, restored, held. The healing journey is not about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about letting God take what was broken and build something unshakable. You are not the sum of what went wrong. You are a beloved child of a Redeemer who never lets go. What mistakes am I still allowing to define me? How can I invite God to rename and restore my identity today? What story of healing does Psalm 23 invite me to believe instead of shame? He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. Psalm 91:4. He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23:3. All things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. If this prayer gave you peace, share it with someone who feels stuck in their past. God's love is bigger than every mistake, and that truth needs to be heard. There are moments when the weight of sorrow feels unbearable, when tears fall silently in the dark and seem to disappear into the air. Yet God's message today brings sacred reassurance. Every tear you've shed is seen, counted, and stored in heaven. Psalm 56:8 declares that God places your tears in his bottle. Not one is wasted, not one ignored. Your grief is not forgotten. It is deeply personal to the one who formed you, the one who heals. This is not poetry, it is divine truth. You are fully known, fully loved, even in your most broken places. This healing prayer invites you into a space of trust, that your suffering is not wasted and your sorrow is not invisible. Romans 8:28 whispers again that all things, even tears and aching silence, are being woven into God's greater plan for good. Psalm 23 assures you that even in the darkest valleys, God walks beside you. His rod and staff don't remove the pain, but they comfort you in it, guiding you through grief and toward restoration. What feels like endless mourning becomes holy ground, where mercy and healing take root. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us that healing begins when we give voice to our pain, when we stop hiding and start inviting God into our sorrow. This is the heart of Christian meditation, a sacred dialogue where brokenness meets love and tears become prayers. Pope Leo XIII wrote that God pens even the tear-stained pages, transforming suffering into testimony. Your story is not too messy, too sad, or too far gone. It is still being written, with compassion, with purpose, and with personal redemption in every line. If your heart feels heavy with tears that haven't yet found peace, this prayer is for you. You are not weak for feeling deeply. You are seen by a God who keeps count of every drop. Let Psalm 91 be your shelter and Psalm 23 your comfort. You don't need to hold it all together to be held by Him. Your healing isn't far. It is unfolding even now, quietly and completely, in the hands of a God who treasures you beyond measure. How can I bring my tears and sorrow before God today? What does it mean to me that God keeps count of my tears? How might trusting God's personal care change how I view my pain? Thou tellest my wanderings, put thou my tears into thy bottle. Psalm 56:8. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Psalm 23:4. All things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. If this prayer brought light to your darkness, share it with someone who needs to know their tears are seen and sacred. Let God's healing flow through both of you, one quiet prayer at a time. There are mornings when the gap between where you are and where you hoped to be feels overwhelming. A chasm formed by missed opportunities, lost time, and unfulfilled dreams. You wake feeling behind, as if others have surged ahead while you remain stuck in regret and self-doubt. But God's message today speaks gently and clearly. You are not too far behind. Your pace does not define your purpose. Healing prayer begins in this moment of honesty, where you release the pressure to measure up and remember that God's timing is never rushed, never late, always redemptive. Psalm 91 invites you into the secret place of the Most High, where comparison loses its grip and peace takes root. There, under His wings, fear fades and rest begins. Romans 8:28 reminds you that all things, including detours and delays, are being woven into good. Psalm 23 offers the image of a shepherd restoring your soul and leading you beside still waters, not rushing, not pushing, but guiding you into renewal. You are being followed by mercy, not judgment. You are seen, not overlooked. Your journey matters, no matter the pace. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches that healing begins when we stop living by others' timelines and start trusting the unique path God has prepared for us. Pope Leo XIV reminds us that even the pages we deem wasted are being rewritten by God's loving hand. This morning meditation calls you to surrender the need to compete and to rest in the rhythm of grace. Your past is not a failure. It is the soil in which your future breakthrough is already growing. You are not late. You are being prepared. If today you feel the weight of being too far behind, let this prayer hold you. Let God quiet your anxious thoughts, still your striving, and remind you that His love isn't based on your progress, but on His promise. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are exactly where you need to be, in the presence of a God who restores, redeems, and makes all things new. What pressures of comparison am I carrying that steal my peace? How can I trust God's timing instead of rushing my journey? In what ways is God already working good in my current season? He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23:3. All things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. If this prayer comforted your heart, share it with someone who feels overwhelmed or behind. Let's walk together in faith, trusting the one who makes every step count. The ache of delayed dreams can feel like a quiet, persistent shadow, following you even in moments of joy. Missed opportunities and what could have been replay like a haunting melody, stirring regret and frustration. Yet God's message today is a tender call to healing. Your dreams are not lost, they are simply delayed. Your missed moments are not wasted, they are being redeemed. This prayer invites you to rest in that truth and surrender your timetable to the one who controls time itself. Psalm 23 reminds us that even when we walk through valleys shadowed by disappointment, God's presence comforts and restores. Psalm 91 promises protection and peace for those who dwell in His presence. Romans 8:28 assures us all things, even disappointments and delays, work together for good to those who love God. Your delayed dreams are part of that divine weaving. When your heart is clear, facing what you perceive as loss, God views as preparation. Dr. Anita Phillips encourages embracing the spaces between expectations and God's promises as fertile ground for growth and healing. Pope Leo the Torch teaches that God's hand writes on every page of our lives, even those marked by delay and detours, turning stories into testimonies of faith and restoration. This morning meditation offers peace to those burdened by waiting, reminding you God's timing is perfect, even when mysterious. If your heart is heavy with missed moments, take this prayer as balm. Lay your dreams gently in God's hands and trust what feels delayed is still alive and growing. Healing is not rushing forward, but resting in assurance that God's purpose for your life unfolds perfectly. The God who keeps your tears and restores your soul also breathes life into dreams waiting to bloom. How have I struggled to accept delays in my dreams? What healing do I need to embrace God's perfect timing? How can Psalm 23's promise of restoration bring peace to my waiting? Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Psalm 23:4. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. All things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. If this prayer brought comfort, share it with someone wrestling with waiting or disappointment. Together, let's trust God's perfect timing and healing grace. Sleeplessness often signals a restless soul, one weighed down by worries, regrets, and unanswered questions. In these quiet, lonely hours, anxiety can feel overwhelming, convincing you peace is unreachable. But God's message today speaks directly to your sleepless heart. You can learn to rest again. You are not alone in your waking hours. Healing prayer invites you to bring your weariness into God's gentle arms, where true rest is found beyond circumstance and understanding. But Psalm 91 offers a sacred refuge, reminding us that dwelling in the secret place of the Most High provides shelter and peace. Psalm 23 assures that the shepherd restores the soul, leading us beside still waters, even when the night feels long and dark. Romans 8:28 promises all things, including restless nights, work together for good. These scriptures are living promises, anchoring your soul amidst the storm of sleepless thoughts. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches, rest is a gift of grace, not a reward for effort. Sometimes healing begins not by fixing what's broken, but surrendering control to God's loving care. Pope Leo Canon reminds us every page of our lives, especially sleepless ones, is under God's watchful hand, written with mercy and hope. This morning meditation encourages you to release the burden of sleeplessness and trust the God who never slumbers or sleeps. If your nights are filled with unrest, take this prayer as a soothing invitation. Lay down your worries and embrace divine rest. Healing is not rushing the night away, but entering the peace that surpasses understanding. You are held, protected, and loved, even when sleep escapes you. God's healing presence is nearer than you realize, and in His embrace, your soul can finally rest. What thoughts or fears keep me awake at night? How can I invite God's peace into my sleepless moments? What does it mean to truly rest in God's care despite circumstances? He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23:3. All things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. If this prayer brings comfort, share it with someone struggling with sleeplessness. Let's encourage each other to find rest in God's faithful presence. Life rarely unfolds in a straight line. Often the path you planned becomes a maze of unexpected turns, delays, and detours. It's easy to feel lost or abandoned when regret whispers that your mistakes have led you astray, beyond repair. Yet God's message today is a powerful reassurance. God walks with you through every detour. Psalm 23 reminds us that even when the road is uncertain, the shepherd is by our side, guiding, protecting, and restoring every step of the way. The secret place in Psalm 91 is not free from hardship, but a refuge where God's presence transforms difficulties into healing. Romans 8:28 teaches that all things, including setbacks and detours, work together for good to those who love God. This truth undergirds healing prayer and meditation, trusting that God's plan is not thwarted by delay, but revealed through it. Even when your journey feels tangled, you are never alone or forgotten. Dr. Anita Phillips highlights that healing means embracing God's guidance, even when it leads through unfamiliar terrain. Pope Leo Canon reminds us God writes on every page, even the ones we don't understand. Your detours are part of a story. God is crafting a story of redemption, strength, and victory. This morning meditation invites you to release the anxiety of should have been and step forward in faith, knowing the shepherd's rod and staff comfort you. If the twists and turns overwhelm you, this prayer is for you. Let Psalm 23 anchor your soul. You are led beside still waters and into restoration. God's presence is constant, faithful, and healing. Your detours are not derailments, but divine appointments for growth and grace. What detours in my life have made me feel lost or hopeless? How can I invite God to lead me through uncertain paths with trust? How has God used unexpected turns to bring healing or growth? He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. All things work together for good. Romans 8:28. If this prayer spoke to your heart, share it with someone struggling with uncertainty. Together, let us walk forward with confidence, knowing God leads us through every detour. There are seasons when you feel invisible, overlooked by the world, and sometimes even by yourself. The weight of feeling unseen and unused gnaws at your spirit, causing doubt, loneliness, and despair. Yet God's message today is a gentle reminder. You are seen, you are chosen, you are precious. Healing prayer reaches out to your weary heart, assuring you nothing you have lived through is wasted, and every part of your journey holds purpose in God's divine plan. Psalm 91 offers refuge for the unseen soul, a secret place where God's protection surrounds you even when you feel forgotten. Psalm 23 declares that goodness and mercy pursue you, not because of what you've accomplished, but because of who you are to God. Romans 8:23 assures all things, including seasons of feeling overlooked or unused, work together for your good. This meditation invites you to rest in God's unwavering gaze and find your worth not in human affirmation, but in divine love. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches healing begins when we recognize our true identity as beloved children of God, regardless of how visible or productive we feel. Pope Leo Kateros reminds us, God writes on every page, even those we think are blank or insignificant, and uses them to reveal His glory. This prayer is for those who feel invisible, unheard, or undervalued. Let God's presence fill the quiet spaces within you and transform emptiness into fullness. If your soul aches from feeling unseen, take this prayer as a sacred invitation to receive God's affirmation. Let His healing love remind you that you are not forgotten, not wasted, and deeply treasured. Your story matters, and God is still writing it with purpose, hope, and grace. What ways have I felt unseen or undervalued? How can I embrace my identity as God's precious child today? What does it mean to trust that God is using every part of my story better? He added, "That dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." Psalm 91:1. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. All things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. If this prayer brought comfort to your heart, share it with someone feeling unseen or undervalued. Together, let us embrace our true worth in God's eyes. Regret can feel like a relentless tide washing over your heart again and again, leaving heaviness and unrest. When every mistake, missed opportunity, or wrong turn seems louder than hope, despair can creep in. Yet God's message today is a balm for weary souls. Peace is possible, even when regret feels overwhelming. Healing prayer invites you to bring your full heart, burdened, broken, longing for rest, before the one who turns sorrow into serenity. Psalm 23 reminds us the shepherd leads us beside still waters, restoring our soul even when turmoil churns within. Psalm 91 promises refuge and protection under the shadow of the Almighty, a place where fear and regret lose their grip. Romans 8:28 declares, all things, including your deepest regrets, work together for good in God's sovereign plan. This morning meditation offers peace, not because regrets vanish instantly, but because God's presence makes space for healing amid them. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches, peace is not absence of struggle, but God's presence amid it. Pope Leo Cantor's wisdom echoes this. God writes on every page, even those marked by regret, transforming your story into a testimony of grace. This prayer is for those who wake heavy-hearted, burdened by what if and if only. Let God's healing love pour over your regrets and replace them with peace that transcends understanding. If regret threatens to steal your joy today, take this prayer as refuge. Release burdens into God's hands and receive His peace as a gift. You are not defined by your past. You are being restored now. Healing meditation is the path to reclaiming peace, moment by moment, as you trust God's faithful care. What regrets am I carrying that steal my peace? How can I invite God's presence into moments of regret? What does it mean to find peace despite past mistakes? Leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23:2-3. I help. That dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. All things work together for good. Romans 8:28. If this prayer brought you peace today, share it with someone weighed down by regret. Together, let us walk into God's healing and peace. Life's hardest moments, times when you felt broken, defeated, or lost, can seem like wounds that will never heal. Yet God's message today brings a powerful truth. What broke you is being transformed to bless others. Your pain is not in vain. Healing prayer opens your heart to the possibility that your struggles prepare you to be a source of hope, comfort, and strength for someone else. Your story of redemption can illuminate the path for others still walking through darkness. Psalm 23 reassures us that the shepherd's rod and staff bring comfort, guiding us through trials to restoration. Psalm 91 promises protection and peace even amid adversity. Romans 8:28 reminds us all things, including suffering and brokenness, are woven together by God for good. This healing meditation invites you to release the shame of brokenness and receive God's purpose in it, a purpose extending beyond your healing to touch many lives. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches healing often prepares us to minister to others with empathy and grace. Pope Leo X reminds us God's pen writes even on pages marred by pain, creating a beautiful testimony of faith and restoration. This prayer is for those who feel their past brokenness disqualifies them. Instead, it affirms God uses your wounds to bless others and glorify His name. If you carry scars from your journey, take this prayer as a declaration of hope. God's healing is not only for you, but for those encouraged by your story. Your brokenness is being woven into a blessing. Through your healing, others find light in their darkness. How has my brokenness prepared me to bless others? How can I share my story to encourage those still struggling? How does trusting God's purpose for my pain change my perspective? Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Psalm 23:4. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91. All things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. If this prayer encouraged you, share it with someone who needs to know their pain can become a blessing. Let's encourage each other to trust God's healing plan. Nothing in your past is wasted, no matter how heavy regret feels. God's message today brings sacred assurance. Every moment, tear, and mistake is being redeemed. Psalm 91 invites you into a refuge where your past hurts are not erased but healed, held and restored by the Almighty. Healing prayer calls you to step into this refuge, trusting that God transforms what once felt like loss into new life and purpose. Psalm 1. Psalm 23 promises that goodness and mercy pursue you all your days, following even the darkest moments of your history. Romans 8:28 reaffirms that all things, no matter how broken or painful, work together for good to those who love God. This meditation invites you to release the weight of wasted time and rest in the truth that God's redemptive power is greater than your past. Every page God writes is part of a masterpiece, even those stained with pain. Dr. Anita Phillips encourages embracing God's healing grace that rewrites the narrative from regret to restoration. Pope Leo X reminds us God's pen never stops, often highlighting pages we thought ruined. This prayer is for the soul weighed down by what was lost or wasted. Open your heart and receive God's healing touch that renews and reclaims every part of your journey. If you struggle with feelings of wasted time or missed opportunity, take this prayer as a lifeline. God is not finished with your story. Nothing you have lived is beyond His redeeming love. Healing meditation helps you see your past through eyes of grace, where nothing is wasted and all is transformed. What parts of my past do I still feel are wasted or lost? How can I embrace God's healing power to redeem those moments? What new hope does Psalm 91 give me for my story? He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. All things work together for good. Romans 8:28. If this prayer renewed your hope, share it with someone feeling weighed down by regret. Together, let us celebrate the truth that nothing is wasted in God's healing hands. There are times when doubt creeps in quietly, whispering that you are unworthy, overlooked, or forgotten. These doubts can erode your sense of identity and purpose, especially when regret clouds your vision of yourself. But God's message today is a profound reminder. You are chosen. You are precious. Your worth is not defined by mistakes, but by God's love. Healing prayer invites you to stand in that truth, letting God's affirmation replace the lies of doubt. Psalm 91 reassures you that dwelling in God's presence brings protection and peace, even when your heart feels fragile. Psalm 23 declares that goodness and mercy pursue you, not because of what you have done, but because of who you are to God. Romans 8:28 promises that all things, including your struggles with self-worth, are woven into God's perfect plan for your good. This morning meditation encourages you to receive God's love as your foundation, unshaken by past failures or regrets. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches that healing begins when we accept our true identity in Christ, not based on performance, but on grace. Pope Leo XIV reminds us that God's hand writes purpose on every page of our lives, including the ones we doubt. This prayer is for anyone wrestling with feelings of inadequacy. Let God's healing touch remind you that you are deeply loved and chosen for a divine purpose. If doubt has clouded your worth, take this prayer as an invitation to embrace your identity in God. Let His message lift you from despair to hope, from insecurity to confidence. Healing meditation is the path to standing firmly in the truth of who God says you are, chosen, cherished, and beloved. Where have I doubted my worth or felt unchosen? How can I embrace God's love as the foundation of my identity? What does it mean to live as someone God has chosen? That dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. All things work together for good. Romans 8:28. If this prayer strengthens your sense of worth, share it with someone struggling to believe they are chosen and loved. Together, let us stand in God's truth. There are wounds from the past you carry like heavy stones, unyielding and impossible to undo. The if-onlys and what-ifs replay endlessly, binding your heart to regret. Yet God's message today gently invites you, release what you cannot undo. Lay your burdens down and trust in God's redeeming grace. Healing begins when you acknowledge your limits and open your hands to receive God's peace and restoration. Psalm 23 assures that the shepherd restores your soul and leads you beside still waters, offering rest even when the past feels overwhelming. Psalm 91 promises protection and refuge for those who seek shelter in the Most High. Romans 8:28 reminds us all things, even brokenness and mistakes, work together for good in God's plan. This meditation invites you to surrender control over the unchangeable and find freedom in God's hands. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches healing grows when we stop rewriting the past and trust God's power to transform it. Pope Leo VII encourages belief that God's pen continues to write purpose on every page, including those marred by pain. This prayer is for anyone burdened by the weight of things they cannot fix. Let God's healing love soften your grip and fill your heart with peace. If trapped by what cannot be undone, take this prayer as a lifeline. Release regrets and mistakes into God's care and receive His promise of restoration. Healing meditation leads you from bondage to liberty, from sorrow to hope, as you trust God's faithful love. What burdens am I holding that I need to release to God? How can I trust God's power to redeem what I cannot change? What peace can I find in surrendering my past to God? He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23:3. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. All things work together for good. Romans 8:28. If this prayer helped you let go today, share it with someone burdened by past regrets. Together, let us embrace God's healing freedom. There are seasons when self-rejection becomes a constant companion, and you look back at your life with shame and disdain. The years you hated yourself feel like scars that refuse to fade, shaping how you see your worth and future. Yet God's message today breaks through that darkness. You are deeply loved, fully forgiven, and perfectly made. Healing Prayer invites you into a sacred meditation where God's grace washes over those years of self-hate, transforming pain into peace and rejection into acceptance. Psalm 23 promises that goodness and mercy follow you all the days of your life, pursuing you relentlessly with healing and hope. Psalm 91 offers refuge in the shadow of the Almighty, a place where fear, shame, and self-condemnation cannot reach. Romans 8:28 assures that all things, even the hardest seasons of self-loathing, are woven into God's perfect plan for your good. This healing meditation encourages you to release the lies you've believed about yourself and receive God's truth as your identity. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches healing begins when we accept God's unconditional love, allowing it to redefine our self-position. Pope Leo XIV reminds us God writes on every page of our lives, even the ones we despised, crafting stories of redemption and grace. This prayer is for those who carry deep wounds of self-rejection. Let God's healing presence fill your heart, renewing your spirit and restoring your sense of worth. If you are weary from years of self-hate, take this prayer as refuge. Let God's love speak louder than your past mistakes and doubts. Healing meditation leads you from shame to acceptance, from isolation to belonging, as you trust God's faithful and transforming grace. What lies about myself do I need to replace with God's truth? How can I begin to accept God's unconditional love today? What steps can I take to embrace healing and self-acceptance? Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. Healing that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91. All things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. If this prayer touched your heart, share it with someone struggling with self-rejection. Together, let us walk into God's healing and love. As this sacred morning dawns, God speaks gently to your heart. This too is part of the plan. Every regret, every delay, every tear you've shed is woven into a greater story, one only He can write with perfect wisdom and love. You may have longed to erase the past or rewrite the pages marked by pain, but God's message today is an invitation to trust the unfolding of His divine purpose. Healing Prayer is your surrender to this truth, a deep resting in the assurance that nothing you have lived is wasted. Psalm 23 reminds us that goodness and mercy will follow us all our days, not because our journey is flawless, but because God's grace is relentless. Psalm 91 promises refuge under the shadow of the Almighty, a shelter where fears, regrets, and anxieties lose their hold. Romans 8:28 reassures that all things, including the broken pieces of our past, are working together for good for those who love God. This morning meditation encourages you to release control and embrace God's perfect timing and plan, even when the path seems uncertain. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches that healing comes through trusting God's sovereignty, knowing that He is always working behind the scenes for your restoration. Pope Leo XIV's insight comforts us. God writes on every page, even the ones we tried to tear out, and uses them to reveal His glory and grace. This prayer is a declaration of faith, a surrender of regret, and a celebration of hope. Your story is in God's hands, and He is writing a masterpiece of redemption. If you have been burdened by what you cannot change or understand, take this prayer as a balm for your soul. Trust that God's plan is perfect and that every moment, even the painful ones, are shaping you for a future filled with purpose and peace. Healing meditation leads you into rest, renewal, and a deep knowing that you are held by a faithful God who never wastes a single moment of your life. How can I surrender my need to control my story to God's plan? What peace can I find in trusting God's timing and purpose? How does knowing this too is part of the plan change my view of my past? Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. If this prayer brought you hope and peace today, share it with someone needing reassurance that nothing is wasted in God's hands. Let us walk forward together in faith, healing, and trust.